I know many of you are either in the process of applying to law school or at the very least are thinking about it. I want to make a quick, comprehensive guide giving you all the tools and the resources you need to make a decision about where you want to go and even where you want to apply to, and just sort of go from there. What I have here is a document with quick tips, general things that I learned during my various application cycles. There'll be a link down below linking to my Substack where you can access this for free. For the past 5 years, each application cycle has become more competitive. I think this started because of COVID, but the ante has been upped. LSAT scores have been getting higher. GPAs have been getting higher. So admission across the board for most, if not all, law schools has gotten harder. So going into any application cycle, this year particularly, you want to make sure that you have the highest GPA possible. But if your GPA is already set in stone, you could definitely compensate by getting a really high LSAT score. What high means depends on which law school you really want to go to. Because some law schools you'll be fine with a 160, others it'd be better if you had a 165, 170, so on and so forth. The breakdown for what administrators look at. Now, caveat, this is just a gut feeling based on sort of my experiences because I went through 3 cycles, each one with a progressively higher LSAT score. My first cycle, I applied with a 153, got me nowhere. Second time, 156. It got me into places, but with absolutely no money. And then the third time with a 166, it got me a bunch of generous offers. Anecdotally, from my experience, I would say that administrators put 60% weight on LSAT, 30% on GPA, and 10% on personal statement, recommendation, resume. If you're a borderline person, that last 10% can really make the difference between whether or not you get accepted and whether or not you get a scholarship, and if so, how much. The best time to apply is between early September, right when the applications open, and late November. It maximizes both your chances of getting in and getting a scholarship. So if you have everything good to go with the recommendations, with your score, with your grade point average, if you have everything ready to go, apply as soon as you can. MAP, now this one is optional. Wherever you're applying, wherever you're thinking about going, your list of schools, just mark. Another resource, I guess the first thing you might want to look at, you should take it with a grain of salt, but the law school rankings. You'll get the basic information for free. If you want to pay for it, some people do, I didn't. But this gives you a general idea of where each of the law schools, their stature throughout the country. But the reason why I put a caveat with this is you want to find a place that best suits your personality, where you think you're going to enjoy the environment. And so rankings, although they are a consideration, it's not the most important thing in the world. Now, there is LSD data in a bunch of these other websites, but the reason why LSAC is the best one is because they get the data directly from law school. And what this link allows you to do, it's this one here, Law School Admission Calculator. What this allows you to do is gauge your chances at most of the law schools. Now, some say, oh, because we're holistic, we're not going to give the data. Not every law school is going to be here, but the ones that are extremely accurate. So if you're Jose and you have, I don't know, a 3.5 undergrad LSAC GPA and your LSAT score is 165, just using Florida, right? You sort it by likelihood from low to high. You gauge your chances based off your information. Once again, sort of similar to the law school ranking, take it with a caveat. Don't be like, oh, just because I only have a 52% chance at going to the University of Miami, which if you're thinking about going to law school, definitely apply to the University of Miami School of Law. But go in, be objective. That's what lawyers are supposed to do. Look at the facts. Kind of see where you stand in the admission cycle. Another thing too, something that I really enjoy is that the schools that do publish the data for LSAT and GPA, once again, LSAT and GPA are not everything, but just for example, my law school here, this was from the academic year 2024, and you can kind of see where you would rank. Jose, who has a 3.5 and a 165, other students with similar stats, 75 out of 113 were admitted. So Jose would have a 66% chance in theory. There are other things like recommendation, personal statement that do make a difference. The other link here that I have, which is the ABA 509, what this does is, unlike the LSAC admissions data, which Not every law school provides because they don't have to. Every ABA accredited school, American Bar Association school, is required to release this data. This does is it gives you an idea of what the median LSAT score is, what the median GPA is. If you're a ticket splitter, this is useful to see where you fit in terms of the applying class. So this one is UF. Very hard to get into, very prestigious school in Florida. As you can see here, 89% of the people who were admitted got a grant, and the median there is $21,000, which Florida tuition is cheap, and that basically pays the tuition. Point being that this 509, and you could do this with any school, you could see what the median LSAT, what the median GPA for the admitted classes, how much they're giving, what percentage of the students who are admitted are getting money, and whether or not the money is conditional. With a conditional scholarship, it's person by person. They set a standard higher than the American Bar Association. So basically, the American Bar Association requires all law school graduates to graduate with a 2.0, and they require law school graduates to, not commit crimes, that sort of thing. Basically, not to do anything that would question your moral character. Basically, what a conditional scholarship does is it raises the bar. One conditional scholarship might be a 2.5 GPA, 2.75, 3.0. And the reason why I'm personally wary of conditional scholarships, and you should consider that in your analysis about where you want to apply or where you choose to go, is because you're thinking, oh, I'm doing great in undergrad, I'm doing great in graduate school. Basically, law school is a different beast. You don't know 100% how you're going to do. Just because the condition looks easy from your experience in undergrad or master's doesn't mean that it's going to translate to law school. You really don't know 100% how you're going to do in the first year. So if the conditional scholarship raises a higher bar versus the unconditional scholarship, which just says, hey, just graduate, keep your grades good enough so that you can get your diploma, most situations you're better off taking the unconditional. What the employment data tells you is the areas where people work, where the size of the firms they work for the graduating class, and all the forms look like this. I'm just using my law school as an example. It gives you a good idea of where the people who graduate at the school you're thinking about going, what they end up doing in the immediate future. And if you're somebody who's super interested in public interest, some law schools are more geared towards that, others less so. And this information, although I will say out of all the things I've shown you, the ABA employment form is the most clunky. It provides a lot of useful information in that regard. Two final things I wanted to mention that are also in the Substack. Definitely, if you get accepted into a school, take a tour of the school, because it won't be how it is in the first year, because nothing will truly prepare you for the first year of law school. But what it'll do is it'll give you a vibe check, a temperature check. It's kind of like when you dip your toe into the water to see if it's too hot, too cold, just right. Even if it might cost you a little bit of money to fly there, pay for a hotel, take a tour so you can see if you like the school, if you see yourself being a student there, because that'll make it a lot easier to make a decision. It'll give you that much information. And one more thing, stay away from Reddit or r/law school admissions. That place is very toxic. I will say I used it a lot. However, the only thing I used it for was to see when scholarship drops were coming out for different law schools that I was interested in. That's the only use of law school admissions that I would really recommend. But even then, it's people posting online, so you don't know if they're lying, or just because they got something earlier doesn't mean you're not going to get anything at all. r/law school admissions, what it does is it creates a lot of sense of FOMO. At the end of the day, what matters is that you know what you want to do, you have an idea of where you want to go, and if you're not really clear, definitely use those resources that I'm providing. And I'm not the one who made them, I used a bunch of different things throughout my various admission cycles, and I found those 5 links to be the most useful with the most accurate information. If you're applying this application cycle, good luck. If you're just thinking about it as a thought, also good luck. Put in the work. To everyone else who's watching, including those 2 groups of people I mentioned, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. And once again, good luck.